Om Jnana Jnana Shalakaya Chakshum Militangena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we left off yesterday in our preparation for Sri Krishna Janmashtami. Krishna mystically transferred the cowherd boys and the cows to Bandiravan, where there is a very special banyan tree called Bandira, sometimes Bandiraka. And the cowherd boys are relaxing there with Krishna, wondering, where's the fire? What happened? Were we just dreaming it? Do you remember the reaction the first time Krishna dealt with a forest fire? Kavi Kanapur explains the first time the fire happened that the residents of Vrindavan thought, maybe we dreamed that there was a forest fire. It's gone. Are we perceiving things properly? And the same thing with the cowherd boys at the base of the Bandira tree. What? Was there a fire actually? So next, it's time, because it's late in the afternoon, it's time to return to the village of Nandagram. So we'll start with Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 19, Text 15, in our warm-up for Sri Krishna Janmashtami. And what the Acharyas want you to bear in mind is that who could fail to be attracted to Krishna, because Krishna is such an amazing combination of Madhura, sweetness, and Aishvarya, opulence. So how could you not be attracted to such a package if you're at all intelligent? So that's the question we need to ask ourselves. How can we not be attracted to Krishna? Material existence is an amputated, severed existence. And our specialty is what? Severed happiness. Severage package happiness. Sometimes when they cut you off from a job, when they lay you off, they offer you a severance package. So we are settling in material existence, we are settling for severage package happiness. By hearing Krishna's pastimes, that artificial sense of disconnection is relieved, and gradually we come closer and closer to Krishna. So this is the effect of hearing Krishna's pastimes from a proper source with a proper attitude. So we'll read the Sanskrit for text 15. Gasamani varcha sahya ne saharamo janardana venum varanayan goshtam agad gopaya abhishtutaha. It's now late in the afternoon, and Lord Krishna, accompanied by Balaram, turned the cows back toward home. Playing his flute in a special way, Krishna returned to the cowherd village in the company of his cowherd friends who chanted his glories. So this return from Krishna to the village from the forest is pivotal, just as Krishna's leaving the village for the forest in the morning is pivotal. So when Krishna leaves the village for the forest, it's a difficult time for his mother. His mother keeps following him and offering him various kinds of foods, and She won't give up until finally Krishna asks her, please return to the village. And of course, for not only the elder gopis, but especially the younger gopis, Krishna's going away to the forest is the beginning of their pain of separation, which we may speak more about later. But what about the forest animals and the forest creatures, the trees, the plants? When Krishna is about to enter the forest in the morning, they rejoice. Krishna's coming. The cowherd boys are playing on their buffalo horns. Krishna's playing his flute. So that whether Krishna's entering the forest in the morning or leaving the forest in the evening, everything is a triumphant event, the greatest musical production. Gotta be there, can't miss it. So this verse calls Krishna Janardhan, and that has a double meaning. Verses in Bhagavatam are very deep, and so the acharyas point out that Jana means of the people, of the folk, or also it can mean of the creatures. And Ardhana means, in meaning number one, causing pain. So who was, upon Krishna returning from the forest and going to the village, who is in pain? All the forest creatures, the plants, the trees. And who is going to rejoice? All the residents of the village. So, Ardhana also means the desire to request someone to do something, to cause a request to arise in someone's heart. So, Krishna's giving pain to the jana, the folks, the creatures of the forest, and to the jana, to the folks of the village, he's causing in their heart to arise a request. Come, Krishna, come back home. So both things are going on at once. So this is what we need to understand. Janardhan, who caused pain to the forest dwellers by separating from them, and caused the inhabitants of Braj to request his return, entered the village. And how is Krishna entering the village? Playing a special tune on his flute, and the cowherd boys are praising him. It's not false praise that the cowherd boys are giving. It's not ritualistic. It's not done out of requirement. Like someone saying, you must go to Mangalarti. So when Krishna enters the village in the evening, you must praise him. It's not like that at all. This is all natural, spontaneous, real life. This is the way they live. This is 100% where they're at. So Krishna's taking the cows back to Braj with Balaram. You already heard yesterday how when Krishna wants to gather his cows, he plays a flute. He plays his flute in such a way that the cows know that it's time to come back. And he can call each cow by individual name and say that name in such a melodious way. Because Krishna's Gopal. He's the protector of the cows. He's Govinda. He gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. So in this way, Parama Ananda, the greatest happiness is experienced, whether Krishna is going to the forest or returning from the forest. This is a big event. It's not as intimate, of course, as the Rasa Leela, or the noonday pastimes of Krishna when he sneaks away from the cowherd boys to meet the girls in the middle of the day. That is the most confidential and intimate. But still, this coming and going to the forest with the cowherd boys is such a mega event. So you should make a big deal about it when you hear about it. This is big stuff. Now you would think, sometimes when I'm walking in the morning, I see Damodar Kata and the other cowherd boys leading the cows from over there to the milking shed. And you would think, oh, that's just an ordinary affair. But in Vrindavan, this is a big event. Can't miss it. So Shukadeva Goswami doesn't want you to miss it. So whether Krishna is going to the forest in the morning or coming back from the forest in the evening, Shukadeva Goswami wants you to understand this is big news. There's nothing bigger than this, except Krishna's secret pastimes at night or in the middle of the day. Actually, the fact is Krishna's noonday pastimes are most secretive. He gives his cowherd boyfriends the slip and then goes to meet the girls. So, earlier in the 10th canto, Shukadeva Goswami describes how Mother Yashoda, especially among the elder gopis, received Krishna coming back from the forest. This is right after the Brahma Vimohana Leela, when the cowherd boys were asleep mystically for a year. And then the pastime ended, they reunited with Krishna. Remember, Krishna had expanded himself into all the cowherd boys and calves so that the mothers of the calves and the mothers of the boys wouldn't detect that their sons were missing. Remember that? Krishna took the characteristics of each calf individual calf, and he took the characteristics of each individual cowherd boy and did that for 1 year. So now, after the end of the Brahma Vimohana Leela, the end of the pastime of the bewilderment of Lord Brahma, Krishna's returning to Braj with the real, you would say, cowherd boys, not his expansions that took the place of the cowherd boys. Now he's coming back with the real ones. And Shukadeva Goswami and the Acharyas explained that the joy was greater when Krishna returned with the real cowherd boys than it was when he would return with the expansion cowherd boys that were actually Vishnu Tattva. Anyway, figure that one out. So we'll go to, and on their way back, as they were returning from the forest after the killing of Aghasura, remember, Aghasura was killed 1 year earlier. But because Krishna is covering up for Lord Brahma attempting to confiscate the calves and cowherd boys, the cowherd boys are referring to the event as if it happened just that day, when actually it was a year ago. So on their way back to the village, Lord Krishna shows them the skin of the dead serpent Aghasura. See this? And the cowherd boys all think, that just happened this morning. And the skin is here. Whereas actually it happened a year ago. So, Tato Hasam Hrishikesho Bhyavyaritya Sahar Bakai Darshayam Chama Jagaram Nyavartata Vanad Vrajam. Then Lord Hrishikesh, smiling, finished his lunch in the company of his cowherd friends. While they were returning from the forest to their homes in Braj, Lord Krishna showed the cowherd boys the skin of the dead serpent Aghasura. So the acharyas explained that even though a year had passed, the cowherd boys' lunch didn't show any staleness. Remember, their lunch was disrupted for a full year. But still the lunch was fresh. So Krishna is pointing out on the way back to the village, "Oh friends, look at the skin of the snake." So now the forest pastimes have ended, and Krishna's returning home for the first time in 1 year with the real cowherd boys, not the Vishnu Tattva expansions meant to cover the absence of the real cowherd boys. So now the verse about Mother Yashoda waiting for Krishna. How does Krishna look coming from the forest? This is for your meditation, how Gopal Krishna looks coming back from the forest. Barha prasuna vanadatu vichitanga prodhama venudala shringa ravotsavajyaha vatsangranananuga Gita pavitra kirtir gopi drig utsava drishi pravivesha goshta. Now the description. And these descriptions are meant to gradually embed themselves deeper and deeper in your consciousness. Lord Krishna's transcendental body was decorated with peacock feathers and flowers. Can you see that? The peacock feathers and the flowers? This is Krishna's village attire. Different from Dwarka, where he's dressed in regal opulence. So his transcendental body was decorated with peacock feathers and flowers and painted with forest minerals. And his bamboo flute loudly and festively resounded. Krishna has different flutes. They're described in Nectar of Devotion. Some are smaller, some are bigger, some are very much decorated with jewels. So he's playing his flute in a festive way, and he's calling out to his calves by name. Because these calves didn't go out to the forest with Krishna, so he's calling out as he returns to the calves by name. He's calling them by name. And his cowherd boyfriends are chanting Krishna's glories. And so in this way, Krishna enters the cow pasture in the village, the cow pasture of his father, Nanda Maharaj. So what else is going on? Is it just that he's entering the cow pasture of his father? No, there's the sight of his beauty. The sight of his beauty at once produced a great festival, Mahotsava, for the eyes of all the cowherd women. But this verse is particularly referring to the elderly gopis, not the young ones. The acharyas explain, as Krishna's calling out to each calf by name, he's returning to the village, and the calves are there. Seeing Krishna was a feast for the eyes of the elderly gopis in Vatsalya praying, parental love of Krishna. So Shukadeva in this verse is not referring to the young gopis. That's another matter which we will now turn to. So Krishna, before we turn to the young gopis, we'll finish with the older gopis. Krishna's entering Braj, giving joy to the eyes of the women. That means the elder women who have parental love for him. He's dressed in what? Who knows?
Flowers and peacock feathers.
Forest attire. And being intensely joyous from associating with the boys and the calves. So he's got forest minerals on. And the gopis, as we said, were Mother Yashoda, and all the elderly women of Braj. So what about the younger gopis? You should be wondering about that. Because Vatsalya Ras is not as intense as Madhurya Ras. So we'll go back to the 19th chapter and hear about the feelings of the young gopis, especially the foremost of the young gopis, as Krishna returns from the forest. Gopinam Paramananda Asid Govinda Darshane Chanam Yuga Shatamiva Yasam Yena Vina Bhavat. The young gopis took the greatest pleasure in seeing Govinda come home, since for them, even a moment without his association seemed like 100 ages. So this feeling that a moment without Krishna is like 100 ages is a very special symptom. There are different levels of praying. The Acharyas list 7 or 8 levels of praying intensity, ending in mahabhava. So this feeling that yugayatam nameshena chakshusha prabhashayatam shunyayatam jagat sarvam govinda virahename, that everything is empty without you, and a moment in separation is like hundreds of yugas. That is the symptom of mahabhava. So when Lord Chaitanya is giving you that verse, he's describing a symptom of the topmost level of praying. And that, because remember, praying intensifies from bhava, the very beginning, the preliminary stage of love of Krishna. It intensifies from there all the way to mahabhava. So we should give special note to this occurrence of this symptom that the young gopis, for them, a moment feels like Krishna's been gone for 100 ages. So what is Krishna doing after he saved the cowherd boys from the blazing fire, the forest fire? Now he's going to save the cowherd girls from the blazing fire of separation. So we talked about how everyone is blissful, of course, when Krishna enters the village. Not the forest creatures, though, not the forest vegetation. They're feeling the pain until Krishna returns in the morning. But especially the bliss of Mother Yashoda, with her strong parental affection, was a standout. And so we already described the verse in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto that presented Mother Yashoda and the elderly gopis, how they felt greeting Krishna upon his return from the forest. But now you're hearing the bliss of the gopis headed by Srimati Radharani. So the Acharyas tell us that in terms of both quality and quantity, the gopis' love was supreme. Not simply in quality, but also in quantity. There's nothing beyond it. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami uses the word parama. There's nothing beyond these gopis' love for Krishna. But you might ask, which gopi? And the answer is Srimati Radharani. She experienced a moment's separation from Krishna as 100 yugas. This experience of a moment as 100 yugas is the quality of mahabhava, the highest state of praying. After the praying proceeds through Rati, Prema, Sneha, Mana, Pranaya, Raga, Anurag, and culminates in mahabhava. So this mahabhava is only experienced by Srimati Radharani and perhaps a few other gopis. So Krishna is giving bliss to the cowherd boys after rescuing them from the forest fire, and he's also giving bliss to the young gopis after they had burned in the fire of separation. Now, is this just a one-off occurrence? What do you think? No, this is actually a daily event. Eternally. Got to be there. You want to be there. This was a daily event, but it's described on this particular day after the forest fire. The gopis achieved the highest limit of bliss on seeing Krishna. For them, a moment was like 100 yugas in his absence. So don't take it so ordinarily when you recite the Shastaka prayers, Yugayatam Yameshena, Govinda Virahename. I remember once Srila Prabhupada describing that verse and its impact. What do you mean? Shunyayatam Jagat Sarvam. What do you mean the whole world is shunya, empty? There's so much traffic, so much hustle and bustle, so much activity. No, shunya, empty. Govinda Virahename. In separation from Krishna, everything is empty, no matter how active the world seems. So we hope to give you a deeper insight into this symptom of a moment feeling like 100 yugas. And it gets so intense that the gopis, when the eyes blink, they feel that to be unendurable separation. Who do you know who's that beautiful and attractive that when your eyes blink, it's like, oh no, vast separation. So this is described by Shukadeva Goswami in the words of the gopis, the young gopis, in chapter 31 of the 10th canto. Atati yad bhavan ahni kananam, chuti yugayate tvam apashyatam. Kutila kuntalam sri mukam chate, jada udikshatam pakshma krid drisham. When you, the gopis are talking about Krishna, when you go to the forest during the day, a tiny fraction of a second becomes like a millennium for us because we cannot see you. And even when we can eagerly look upon your beautiful face, so lovely with its adornment of curly locks, our pleasure is hindered by what?
Blinking of the eyes.
Eyelids, which were fashioned by the foolish Creator. So how can you calculate Krishna's beauty? His beauty is so intense and unlimited that you curse the Creator. Why did you give us eyes that blink? Because when the eyes blink, I don't see the beauty anymore. I'm feeling oceans of separation. Also, the gopis criticized the Creator, Brahma, for giving them just two eyes. You can't just you can't soak up all the beauty of Krishna with just two eyes. And those two eyes blink. In other words, it gets even worse than having just two eyes. The two eyes blink. So what kind of beauty is this? So we get another verse from chapter 82 of the 10th canto. Gopyasta Krishnam upalabhya charad abhishtam yat prekshane drishishu pakshma kritam shapanti drigbir hridi kritam alam parirabhya sarvas Tadbhava alpa api nitya yujam durapam. So this is Shukadeva Goswami now speaking. He's describing the gopis gazing at their beloved Krishna. While gazing at their beloved Krishna, the young gopis used to condemn the creator of their eyelids. Now, seeing Krishna again after such a long separation, where are they? Seeing Krishna again after such a long separation. 10th canto, chapter 82, where would they be? Huh? Kurukshetra, yes. Samanta Pancha. Now seeing Krishna again after such a long separation, with their eyes they took him into their hearts. This is yoga. With their eyes they took him into their hearts, and there in their hearts they embraced him to their full satisfaction. In this way they became totally absorbed in ecstatic meditation on him. Although those who constantly practice mystic yoga find such absorption difficult to achieve, but these simple cowherd girls were able to achieve the peak of meditation. By taking with their eyes, they take Krishna into the heart, and then in the heart they embrace Krishna. That's the perfection of bhakti yoga. So we get the understanding that the gopis mentioned in this verse are the young gopis. And what was their supreme bliss? A moment seemed like 100 yugas in his absence. How could that be bliss? This is a great mystery. You'll find it explained very fascinatingly in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, how the pain of separation is actually the most exquisite bliss. Who remembers the example Sanatana Goswami gives in Brihad Bhagavatamrita? The ice. Ice is cold. Everyone knows that. But if I take an ice cube and press it against your forearm, first you'll feel it like burning. But actually it's cold, but you'll feel it to be burning. So Sanatana Goswami similarly explains that the pain of separation seems to be like a pain, material pain, but actually it's the greatest ecstasy. And that's why the greatest devotees long to experience this pain of separation. So Sanatana Goswami makes the point that if this weren't true, why is it the greatest devotees want to taste love of Krishna and separation? And who is the foremost devotee who wants to taste love of Krishna and separation? Lord Chaitanya. How could it be that separation is more exquisitely intense than meeting? In the material world, we want to meet with the object of our love. And then we think when in the meeting I'll be happy. But in the spiritual world, the feelings of anticipation and the feelings of separation are more intense than the actual sambhog, the actual meeting. You get a taste of that in Srimad Bhagavatam, how the gopis are so absorbed in separation from Krishna that they're like mad. But this is the greatest ecstasy. And they're getting what the greatest mystic yogis cannot get. So the acharyas tell us that it is not possible to describe that bliss that the gopis are feeling. It's beyond words and beyond thought. So how can it be that try it, you blink your eyes, and do you feel any separation from? So it's impossible to understand with ordinary words and thoughts. But when they blinked their eyes, they were situated again in separation. But Krishna is expert in destroying the forest fire for the boys, and he freed the gopis from the fire of separation. So on the one hand, you have Krishna plunging them into separation, and on the other hand, you have Krishna freeing them from separation. It just goes on and on like this eternally. Now, here's a question raised. Does a moment actually have 100 yugas in it? What do you say, Paridas? Does a moment actually have 100 yugas in it? No, but by the pain of separation, they felt like this. How do you get into that? You can't experience it. This is mahabhava, the peak of praying. So factually, a moment is not 100 yugas. Do you understand that? But factually, they felt like that. So Krishna Surya Prabhu, if you could conduct a drama like this, that would be the perfection of your dramatic training. So we have two things that we're dealing with all at once. The separation brought about by the forest fire. Remember the cowherd boys? Were they wanting to save their own skin? They were afraid of death? Was that what was behind their calling out to Krishna?
No.
What was it?
They were calling because they didn't want to feel separation from Krishna.
Exactly. Very good. You get a special treat tonight. They didn't want to feel separation from Krishna. They weren't afraid of death, but they thought, if whatever gets in the way of being with Krishna, Krishna, save us from that. We don't care for death, but if it gets in the way of our being with you, please do something about it. If it gets in the way of our playing with you, our serving you, please do something about it. Otherwise, death, who cares? Death in of itself, who cares? But separation from Krishna, that's the real issue. So they're actually calling out to Krishna, please save us from being separated from you. Now remember, why, we discussed this yesterday, why didn't Krishna let the cowherd boys see him swallow the forest fire? You know everything. Give someone else a chance. Huh? Dhruva Maharaj does. Do you remember? Krishna knew if the cowherd boys, because what? He told them to close their eyes, right? But he knew that if the cowherd boys actually see him swallow the forest fire, they'll panic. They'll want to jump in the fire to save Krishna. Oh, what is this? Our Krishna is swallowing forest fire. Oh no, we got to do something about it. And they'll enter the fire. So Krishna told them, close your eyes. So who remembers one of the things the cowherd boys were explaining to each other? Why is Krishna asking us to close our eyes? Who remembers?
They were saying that Krishna must be chanting some mantras or doing some magic with gemstones, and if we look, it might interrupt him.
Right. His mantras and his gemstones only work when no one's watching. That's why he's asking us to close our eyes. So in this way, we conclude this part of Krishna Lila, which is eternally going on. So any questions as we approach Krishna Janmashtami? Now, can you really accept that hearing Krishna's pastimes is a solution to the world's problems? Hearing about this, the fire separation of the cowherd boys, the fire separation the young gopis are feeling, how can that be the solution to the world's problems? What do you think? But proper attitude or not, just hearing about Krishna solves problems? This is something we should wrestle with, this assimilating this point. And then we'll have a real experience of Sri Krishna Janmashtami. So throughout the Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami is exclaiming, who could fail to be attracted to hearing about Krishna unless you're not a human being? Who could ever become tired of hearing about Krishna? Why can't you have a Krishna Trishna, a thirst for Krishna? So this point is made constantly throughout Shukadeva Goswami's dialogue with Parikshit Maharaj. And they're inspiring one another. Go deeper, tell more, tell more. Any questions? Yes?
What does basically like Janmashtami even mean?
What does?
Janmashtami mean?
It's the celebration of Krishna's so-called Janma. Krishna seems to have a birth, but actually he's unborn. You're also unborn. Did you know that? The spirit soul, what does Krishna say in 2nd chapter of the Gita? Najayate mriyate vakadachan. For the soul, there's never birth nor death. So you are Aja, unborn, and Krishna is also Aja, unborn. But Krishna is the supreme unborn. So much so that when he appears in this world, he comes his own way through his spiritual potency. And what happens when you appear in this world? You're forced by the material nature to undergo a biological process, even though you're spirit soul. So Janmashtami is the celebration of Krishna's so-called birth. Because Krishna's form is all spiritual. There's no difference between Krishna's inside and outside. You like your birthday celebrated, yes? What happens on your birthday?
You get presents.
Yes. But you were forced to take birth.
Yeah.
Still you want presents.
That's sometimes how kids work.
Sometimes what?
Sometimes, like, that's how kids work.
That's how kids work. Yeah.
Yeah.
They like presents.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes?
How does the compression and expansion of time work according to different bodies? So, for example, we see with Brahma, one moment, he experiences one moment, but then the experience for human bodies on Earth was 1 year. So, with the gopis, they're experiencing 100 yugas.
That's emotional. It's not anything to do with... Their emotions make that reality. You understand? Spiritual emotions are for real. So as Lord Chaitanya says, Yugaya Tamdameshena, Chakshusha Prabhajaya, Govinda Virahedame. How can the world be empty? There's so much going on. No, I see just emptiness without Govinda. This is an existential state. So remember the point that what Lord Chaitanya is describing in that verse of Shikshashtaka is mahabhava, the highest stage of prema. Not everyone in Krishna Lila is on the level of mahabhava. Just Srimati Radharani, a few other gopis, and some very confidential, intimate cowherd boys like Subal. Anything else? Yes.
Yesterday you mentioned about how the bhakti activities feel like a task list. we're trying to get our reading done, our hearing, modularity, but then it becomes a source of inspiration or recreation as we progress.
Yeah, in the beginning, we are in the therapeutic stage where we hear and chant and engage in Krishna service because the doctor orders. You remember Prabhupada's definition of sadhana bhakti and perfect questions, perfect answers? You remember? Who knows?
Because I told you.
Sadhana bhakti means you have to do it because I say. That's devotional service performed under injunction. You're required to do this. The doctor says you've got to take this medicine if you want to be healthy. You have no realization yet that the medicine is going to make you healthy, but you trust the doctor. And you may have heard from other patients of the doctor that, yes, I followed his medicine, I took it, and now I'm healthy. So that gives you faith. So this is why the association of devotees is so important. You see the process working for others. And on the converse, if someone you think is following bhakti properly and then falls away, your faith suffers. Oh no, maybe the process doesn't work. It didn't work for him. Maybe it won't work for me. So that's the damaging effect of devotees not following the doctor's instruction. I just had someone tell me, was it 2 days ago, that was an initiated devotee, told me that this following of the 4 rules and chanting 16 rounds has no precedent. I said, well, I'm sorry, but I can't help you because I'm representing Srila Prabhupada. I'm sorry, I can't help you. You may be on the internet hearing from this Bubba, that Bubba, but who has, tell me, any of them, have they done 0.5% of what Prabhupada has done? And here you are saying that Prabhupada's standard of chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 rules is just it has no standing in the sampradaya. These are the austerities I have to go through. And that better not to chant 16 rounds, because if you try to chant 16 rounds, you'll make offenses. So to avoid the offenses, you don't chant 16 rounds. So I said, what about the offense to the holy name of neglecting the order of the spiritual master? He said, oh. These things are going on. This is why Krishna says, no one is more dear, nor will there ever be one more dear than the one who tries to give Krishna's glories, the bhakti lifestyle to others. Often it's a thankless task. Yes?
Maharaj, if it's a moment of eternal time, how could it not have 100 yugas in it?
Say that again?
Krishna is relating to his cowherd girls, gopis, and the old ladies, and it's going on in eternal time.
What's going on
in
in
the spiritual world? The relationship between Krishna and his gopis is going on like morning to night, morning to night, morning to night. So that's eternal time, right?
That's just pastime. It seems like time is having an effect, but it's an eternal now.
Okay.
Just for the sake of changing the pastime, the sun seems to go up and down. It just means time for another kind of pastime.
It encompasses the pastime, like, it gives it.
Wait.
You can't quantify anything.
Can't figure this out with the laws of time and space. Because how do you explain Vrindavan Dham, which expands and contracts according to the pastime? We were talking about this yesterday. How the topography, everyone knows what topography is, the terrain of Vrindavan changes according to what's needed for Krishna's pastimes. So valleys, mountains appear, rivers, trees. Everything is subordinate to Krishna's pleasure. And Krishna is subordinate to his dearest devotee, his dearest gopi. So the question is, who is actually Vrindavaneshwari? Who's the controller of Vrindavan? You could say it's Mother Yashoda, because she's the wife of Nanda Maharaj, or you could say it's Srimati Radharani, because she can control even Krishna. Yes.
Hi, Krishna Gurudev. You were speaking yesterday about this idea of career dharma, how people are wanting to have a certain career that fits in with their nature.
Well, I didn't go into it that much. You're putting, you added that.
Expanding on the topic.
I didn't walk out on a rope.
I was wondering how we can, for those of us who have that mentality of like, I need to work according to what my nature is.
That's great if you can do it. But I said these days, what did I say about these days? Your career dharma is the job you're able to get. That's the reality these days. Ideally, you should be employed in what matches your propensity. But we're now living in an ideal world, and householders want to marry and have babies, right? And that takes moolah. So you got to get the moolah. So that means these days, often devotees have to take whatever job they can get to pay the bills. But their main occupation should always be chanting Hare Krishna, their main activity. That's the real career. A life dedicated to hearing the holy name. Of course, the real propensity for work is described in Bhagavad Gita. Chatur varnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasa. That's the real way to classify propensities. But what are you going to do? Apply for jobs online saying, by the way, I have a Brahmana propensity. Can you employ me? I have a Kshatriya propensity. You should employ me. It's not going to work. So that was my point about being practical. But I fully agree, you get it? That you ideally, in an ideal society, which by the way we don't have, in case you haven't noticed, in an ideal situation you should have a job that matches your propensity. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. But we don't live in an ideal world. And our householders want to procreate. So. Anything else? Yes.
Good. I might have heard this incorrectly, so I'm hoping that you can give some authenticity to what I heard, that another one of the reasons Krishna told the cowherd boys to close their eyes is because he didn't want them to tell Mother Yashoda that he had eaten fire.
Yes, that aspect has been commented upon by the acharyas. Yes.
So that's authoritative. Leela.
It's one angle of vision. This is the nature of Krishna's pastimes. They present so many different aspects and angles of vision. That's why the acharyas, when they write their commentaries, they say, it could be this, or it could be that. And you say, wait a minute, now make up your mind. Is it this or is it that? but it's all those things going on at once. Mind-blowing, isn't it? Some say that the forest fire finally showed respect to Krishna and turned into a drop of soothing beverage on the palm of his hand. And then Krishna just... Some say that actually there was no forest fire, in that it wasn't a real fire, it was something conjured up by Krishna just to make the cowherd boys tighter with him, more tight with him. So again, what are you going to say? Come on, Jiva, Sanatan, Goswami, Vishwanath, make up your mind. So in a few days we have Sri Krishna Janmashtami. I hope you all will be there. I think David Preeti will be gone, yes? Are you coming back?
I will be here for John Boston.
Okay. How wonderful. Yes?
Piggybacking off of Dwisha Prabhu's question, the following the orders, the prescription of the spiritual master, sometimes I hear devotees, I've been chanting 10, 12, 13 X years, and I don't have that taste. So what does it look like to transition from doing what you're told to tasting the nectar of the Holy Name?
In other words, what's it like to do the transition from the therapeutic stage to the relishing stage? You can't hold a timetable up to Krishna, but it will happen. The example Prabhupada always gave was that it's an old-fashioned example. A girl marries and expects a child the next day. It's not going to happen like that. Were you like that, Kumari? Tomorrow, we married. Tomorrow, where's the baby? You have to wait. Sometimes it takes time, years. My brother, my middle brother, for years he was, decades was trying to have children. And he and his wife adopted children because no children are coming. And then after 20 years, comes a child. They were very happy. My cousin told me how it transpired. She looked at my brother's wife and she said, you look pregnant. And so my brother's wife said, really? Can it be true? After 20 years? So my cousin told her, this is the quickest place to find out whether it's true or not. We go to an abortion clinic, because they'll give you a test immediately. So they went to the abortion clinic. The test came out positive. The abortion clinic said, okay, we're ready to make an appointment to terminate the... No, we're getting out of here. So when you go from the therapeutic to the relishing stage, you can't hold a timetable to Krishna. And part of chanting with quality is that I don't care how long this takes, this is my career. This is my career dharma. That's real affection. Like the old rock and roll songs way before your time. Darling, forever, just to be with you thrills me through and through. I'll be your slave for the rest of my days, loving you more. We should have that spirit for our chanting. And then you get so absorbed in trying to chant for Krishna's pleasure that things happen. And you wonder, where did I get this great mercy from? Sometimes you may be disappointed. Oh, it'll never happen. But still, you keep chanting. So therefore I always say, when in doubt, chant Hare Krishna. When not in doubt, chant Hare Krishna. Just make up your mind. Whatever happens, I'm chanting Hare Krishna. Maya pounds on your door. Who do you think you are? Trying to be a saint. We know where you're at. I don't care what you say. I'm just going to chant Hare Krishna. Say what you want. Pound on my door all you want. I'm just going to chant Hare Krishna. That's the kind of determination that brings you from the therapeutic stage to the relative stage. So I was describing the other day how each devotee needs his personal victory brought about by chanting Hare Krishna. When you feel that the material energy has pinned you to the wall and is pounding on your head, and you chant your way out of the situation, you never forget that. Remember I was explaining about the famous CEO of General Electric? He said, I only hire upper-level managers who've had a near-death experience. I want to hire persons who've almost failed in their business and bounced back. Those are the kind of persons I want to give higher management positions to, because they know what it's like, and they fought their way back from adversity. Remember? I explained the athletes. They always say like that, we got the triumph over adversity. I tore my Achilles tendon playing pro basketball, or I did this or that. I ruined my body in this way or that way, but I triumphed over the adversity. Now I'm in the Super Bowl. So we need some enthusiastic spirit about our chanting, about all aspects of bhakti, instead of making it so dull and droll, and we make it monotonous. Can you rise in the morning and say, okay, another blissful day in bhakti? Another opportunity to chant Hare Krishna. Another opportunity to take prasad, to see Radha Damodar. Another day of seeing the cows. I got that distinct impression observing the cowherd boys, the cowherd men here. Gita Nagari's gopis. I can see they're absorbing dharma by being around the cows. I'd like their sadhana to be more visible, but still I can see that they are developing dharmic qualities just by close contact with the cows, day after day after day. Anything else? Yes.
You spoke a little just now, but how can we keep that enthusiasm to keep that activity of emotional service active, fresh, and not take it for granted?
You keep your enthusiasm by associating with those who are enthusiastic. Birds of a feather flock together. Unless you're strong, if you associate with those who are the opposite of enthusiastic, you'll be affected in that way. You are whom you associate with. Judge a person by their associates. In bhakti, that's a very accurate way of judging. And it's your duty to discriminate. Sometimes devotees mistakenly think, oh, you shouldn't judge anyone. But nectar of instruction tells you to discriminate. So therefore I had to show some discrimination when this devotee told me, this following the four negative principles and chanting 60 rounds, this ISKCON requirement, it just came out of nowhere. I said, I'm sorry, but if I don't tell you the truth, I'm cheating you. You're wrong. Lord Chaitanya chanted on his hands. The six Goswamis, in the prayers of the six Goswamis, you hear about how they were chanting a measured set of rounds. It's not that they ever stopped chanting, but at least they chanted a minimum set, a fixed set of rounds. So if you associate with persons who say like that, like this person told me, unless you are very strong, you become contaminated. So I said to this person, where's your integrity? You took initiation vows, you promised. That doesn't mean anything these days. It's called Western dog honor. That's what's going on. Western dog honor. I promised, but that was a year ago. May Gauranga Mahaprabhu prevent us from going that way. We're very fortunate to have in our midst Radha Mohan from Toronto and Sham Mohini from Toronto. And their illustrious cow-loving children. All right, so the next time we'll meet is on Janmashtami Saturday because I have to go to State College tomorrow at the request of Sriman Yashoda Prabhu. So Radha Mohan Prabhu and Sham Mohini Devi will be with us until tomorrow afternoon. They're having an educational project in Toronto, daycare and a school. How many grades are in the school?
We are going into middle school this summer.
This September. Middle school means?
Grade 7.
Grade 7. Okay. And they have the daycare center. And they are involved with book distribution. They're the leaders of a team of book distributor managers. And Sham Mohini Devi manages Vaisheshika Prabhu's Sankirtan Zoom sessions all over the world. You're going to be a Sankirtan devotee?
Of course.
All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.